We're talking to Kyle Franklin, air show performer, and the latest in a long line of air show performers in your family, right, Kyle?
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to be
Glad
here.
you're here at Oshkosh 18. It's a great show. The weather's been wonderful. How many generations of your family have flown here?
Well, let's say it's primarily my father and I.
Yeah.
The air show part started with my father, but I'm actually third generation pilot. Started with my grandfather,
Okay.
and my family was actually. My grandfather was a farmer and a rancher, and the farm and the ranch were 30 miles apart. And he was the first one to get into airplanes, and he used an airplane like most people do, a pickup truck. And he'd use that to fly back and forth the 30 miles between the farm and the ranch. And then when my dad came along, that's how my father started learning to fly, was sitting on his lap going back and forth from the farm and the ranch. That's how my father started to build time in airplanes. That same year, he went to his first air show and saw Harold Cryer and Charlie Hillard perform.
Cryer, wow.
Yeah, I saw them perform. Yeah, and those were his heroes, and he decided right then that he wanted to be an air show pilot. And then jump ahead a couple of years, at age 19, he started performing at air shows in a stock Waco UPF-7. And that airplane, over the years, his next 38 years, eventually is what morphed into the original Jet Waco. And so that's kind of how that part of my family stuff got started with the air show business and flying. And of course, I just naturally grew up in the air show business. I grew up doing this. I was kind of the same way. I went for my first airplane ride when I was 4 weeks old, and started learning to fly very young. I started traveling with my father every summer after school on the air show circuit when I was 12. So I just naturally grew up in this. And then when I was about 20 years old, I started flying my comedy routine. And the Super Cub that I fly today at the shows that do my drunk routine with, that is the exact airplane that I learned to fly in, I soloed in, and I started my air show flying career in. So that airplane has a lot of history behind with me and my father. And air shows is what I do. I do air shows full time for a living, have for 21 years now. And like I say, my family's been in it for 51 years. Last year was my 20th year in the business. So been doing this a long time, and of course the engine and everything, I rely on them a lot. I'm really hard on my engines. Like in my comedy routine, when you watch it, there's a lot of full power, back to idle.
Yeah.
It's got an O320 in it that's been hopped up, the high compression piston cylinders, all the different tricked out things on it to keep it light, but to also get more horsepower out of it. Aircraft Specialty Service, they helped me when I started rebuilding it, and we got it all fixed up there. Well, I'm always so hard on my engine. At that time, when we rebuilt the engine, they were just finishing up the testing on CamGuard, and I was like, all right, well, explain, tell me about this stuff. Oh, it's anti-wear, protection and everything, and it probably worked really good with as much as I've used my engine. And so I started running it, and I tell you, the stuff is absolutely amazing. I run it in everything from my lawnmower now to my cars, to my airplanes. I run it in everything because it makes such a huge difference in protecting my engine, especially during the winter when I'm in my off season and the engine just sits. I set my filter off to have the guys see a split. I didn't have a splitter with me. And they cut up in the filter, and he's like, "How many hours are on your engine now?" I'm like, "I don't know, 600-700." And he's like, "How many hours were on this oil filter?" 22, somewhere like that. It's like, this is the cleanest oil filter I've ever seen. And I was like, I'm giving that to CamGuard.
I was going to ask how many hours you put on your Waco engine for your overall, because I know you run it hard.
Yeah, the one, even the Waco and Dracula and everything, I don't put as many hours on it because Dracula, when it was built, it was designed to be taken apart and trucked from show to show. It was built strictly as an air show airplane to try to keep it light. So the fuel tanks in it it only has a limited amount of fuel for an actual air show performance. So I don't put a lot of hours on it, but every hour that goes on it is really hard, and it's at max power. Like, I didn't know this until a while back because my father taught me how to fly. He's told me the power settings. You do 36-inch of manifold pressure at 2,300 RPM. I'm like, okay, and that's what I set it at. And I was talking with Tulsa Aircraft Engines, and they were telling me, like, well, what settings do you run it? And I told them, they're like, for how long? I'm like, well, the whole performance. And they're like, you're not supposed to run those settings for more than 3 minutes at a time, period. And I'm like, well, it's what I've done forever, and that's what I do. So, and I talked to them about running CamGuard, and they at the time, they hadn't heard of the product. I'm like, well, I'm going to run it for a while. and then they generally tear down my engine every 2 years.
I was there for one of the teardowns.
They generally,
And they were amazed. The same guy that tore it down had put it together.
Yep.
He said it looks like the day I put it together. And I think at that time he had like a little over 200 hours on it.
Yeah, it's probably a little less. It's a little less than that, but still. But again, what people don't get is also there is that's not takeoff and then cruise settings and everything. That is also all the way forward. It's like yesterday when I flew out here. You know, as soon as I get up there, it goes up. I'm actually at the engine turned up to 2,400 RPM, and I'm running at max power the entire time. And by the time I landed yesterday, all my things were in the or almost in the red. I mean, my oil temperature, everything was right at redline because I'm pushing that thing so hard to get every inch of power out of it I can. And again, that's what I love about CamGuard is it makes such a huge difference in protecting my engine. And even I did, I did stunt driving. I've got a stunt driving thing I do from time to time, and I've got stunt cars that I, wrap the heck out of the engines on and always redline in them and everything. And we actually just playing around. One of the guys at CamGuard said, "Hey, try this for us." And I went out there. We did an oil change on one of them. Didn't put CamGuard in it yet. We started up and then started pouring the CamGuard into it to see what happened. Well, the cars were idling, and as we started pouring in there, the RPMs went up, and the engine gear had to reset everything, and it finally brought it back down because of all the, the anti-friction and everything. But the car stuff has got a lot more friction modifiers and stuff, obviously, than the Aviation. But it's great stuff, and I love it, and I stand by it. I get a lot of my friends that now. I even have a friend across the street who's got an automotive shop, and I let him try it on some of his stuff. And he's like, "How do I start selling this stuff? I really like this." So.
You should.
Yeah, so.
Talking to Kyle Franklin, who's Mr. Theme Air Show King, and we're looking forward to seeing your act, and be safe.
Yeah,
Have fun and be safe.
I appreciate it.
Okay. And thanks for using CamGuard.
Oh, well, always, forever.